Welcome and hello. This is an update video in HEC HMS, and I'm titling this video Grid to Point Tool Additional Statistics. So in version 4.13 of HMS, there are additional statistics that have been added to the tools, data, and then grid to point, which is what we're going to demonstrate in this video. The specific statistics that are added, in addition to average, which already existed in version 4.12, is the minimum value, maximum value, median, 25 percentile, 75 percentile, percentage of cells greater than 0, and percentage of cells greater than the 25 percentile. Okay, so just as a quick introduction, let me back out and say that we have a watershed here, a single sub-basin. This is in the Lake Tahoe area where we do get snow. And I bring that up because the gridded data set that I'm going to use for my data grid to point operation is going to be the snow water equivalent. This right here is observed data, residual data. It's a little further down. Here it is, snow water equivalent. This is for the entire sub-basin though, and then snow covered area. So there is snow here. However, this is data for the entire sub-basin. What we're interested in using the grid to point tool will actually allow us to specify a certain time range, not just the entire simulation, even though we will use the entire simulation of data, as well as a specific area within this sub-basin by specifying a shapefile. And it has to be at least 4 grid cells for some of these calculations to work, like 25 percentile, 75 percentile, right? So we're going to go up to Tools and then Data and then Grid to Point. This tool is used to convert a grid of scalar values to an average value over a given time period or specified area. Like I mentioned, it will also involve a shapefile to specify the exact area. And that was average, but like I mentioned, there are a few other statistical parameters which we're going to see the results for in this video. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the data first before we run that tool. So I'm going to open up a DSS view dataset. It is right here for snow water equivalent. I'll click open. I'm going to select all the fields, or all the paths is what they're called. This is a daily time step for 1 year. So I should have 365 grids here representing the snow water equivalent. And then if I click on the plot, here is the data. I'm going to start clicking through the different days of the year here. So you can see we do have data. Not a lot of it for the first couple months, of course, but later in December, January, February, there's more snow water equivalent. All right, so I'm going to leave that right there. This is going to serve as my source data for the grid to point. Let's go ahead and get started with that. I'm going to click on Tools, finally, Data, Grid to Point. Now, here's where I select those snow water equivalent grids we were just looking at. So I will click on the folder icon, navigate to that file, ua_swe.dss, open. Then I'm just going to select all by Control A, and then greater than, and then next. So we're going to be using all of those 365 records. Next, we get to specify the shapefile. So I have that saved as well. Okay, here is my project directory. Here is my GIS directory. Here is my shapefile, upper truckee buffered.shp. So I'll click OK. Okay, that looks good. Go ahead and click on Next. Aha, so this is the new step in version 4.13. This step right here did not exist in 4.12, to my understanding, because here are all the additional calculated parameters. I'm just going to go ahead and check them all on. Doesn't hurt. We don't have to look at them, but they will be calculated if you check on any of the statistics in this list right here. All right, so click on Next. Okay, so this step did exist before. This is where we tell the tool where we want to save the newly created DSS file with our results. So let's click on the folder icon. I'm going to navigate back to my data directory. And instead of SWE average or UA_SWE, I'm going to call this SWE just data, because it's more than just the average .dss. So open. For parts A and F, I could write something in here, but the file name is unique enough. So I'll click on Next. Okay, that looks like it's completed. Let's go back to DSS view and see what we can find out here. Control O, and here is the file that was just created, SWE_data. And what we have here is our time series data sets for the different parameters that we checked on. So each checkbox from that dialog box just a moment ago in the grid to point calculator now has a specific path, which is the time series data for that particular field. I'm pretty sure this first one is average, but we can check that out. Max, median, min, percent greater than 0%, greater than the first quarter values. Okay, so let's go ahead and check that out. I'll click on how about max, median, min, and then Q1 and Q3. We'll just see what that looks like. Okay, that's very cool. So max is blue and then min is green, which makes median red right there. Let's go ahead and add the average to that, which I'm guessing this first one is average. Okay, here's average. Now that's blue. And then here's the median. Yeah, that was probably average. Okay, while we're here, let's just see what the other two paths look like. This is the percent greater than 0 and percent greater than Q1. Percent greater than 0 and percent greater than Q1. Okay. So that was all I had prepared for this update video. As you saw, instead of just being able to calculate the average value using the grid to point tool, now we can calculate all these other parameters as well.